Hi, everyone. My name's Inay Prakash. I'm the Shorts Program Director at Free Film Festival. Thank you for joining us today. I want to welcome Director David Wild and Dr. Paula Duren from the film to join us for a Q&A. Thank you both so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I guess I'll start, David, by asking you why this film? How did you get drawn to this subject? And then how did you meet Dr. Duren?
Well, there was a request for a proposal from the Ralph Wilson Jr. Foundation through Lafayette American in Detroit. And there's a guy there named Toby Barlow who's pretty amazing. And he contacted us, and then we did research. And Sally, my producer, we did a lot of research. We went to Buffalo, we went to Detroit, and then, it was about empowering caregivers. And that was the goal. And we got to Detroit and we met a whole bunch of different people, but we met a woman named Ada at DAAA, and she told us about Dr. Duren, and we called her up, and that afternoon we were in her office, and she's an amazing person. Hi, Paula. And really, the what she talks about kind of definitely changed my life. I mean, not just, I have older parents and mom who's not doing really well, but what she talks about has to do a lot with just real life too. So anyway, that's how it got going. And then we met the people, Roger and Kat and Marla. They're amazing people, and amazing that they would share their lives, and because it's pretty personal stuff.
Right.
Really personal stuff. And and I fell in love with them. I mean, their parent, their moms, it was a gift to me.
Yeah, they all display a lot of vulnerability on screen, which is not an easy thing to do. Dr. Duren, I wonder, you mentioned in the film that you went through this with your parents, but I wonder if you could expound on how you came to create your process and get involved with this work that you do.
First of all, thank you very much. And I thought the film was wonderful, David. I'm excited for you and the film and the potential it has to provide support and information. Both of my parents died from dementia-related diseases. I'm a psychologist by training, and I thought I was pretty smart for a while there. And then I realized I was then invited to the lives of my parents to help support them with their dementia-related diseases. That's when I really came to understand the disease. And having understood the disease, I realized that I needed some help. I couldn't just do this by myself, and I couldn't find any tools that I thought really were culturally sensitive, that were insightful in a way that really honored the person, because I think it's essential to honor the person. And so I put this together as a result of a journal that I wrote. And it was so funny. I wrote this journal thinking it's going to be great insight. I'm a publicist and all these wonderful things. And then I read it, and it was sad. It was angry. It was pretty pathetic, to be honest, but it was real. And so I wanted to design something that brought itself to a place of being totally honest. So we designed a program based on what we learned, based on what the research says, and based on what other people were doing all the time, and have gotten assistance in designing a program called A Caregiver's Passage Through Dementia. And our learning so far, because one of my coaches is Dr. Peter Lichtenberg, is that it not only applies to dementia, it applies to life and the movement that we go through changing. So that's how it was created. And so let me stop there. That's how it was created.
That's wonderful. How do you wonder? I wonder, how do you get connected with the caregivers that you work with?
Well, our group is called Universal Dementia Caregivers, and we are a nonprofit, and we offer monthly lunch and learn sessions open to the community. So we just kind of let people know we're out there, and we're building reputation, we're building support. We're funded in part by the Ralph Wilson Foundation, which I thought was really cool to support in two ways. But we're also supported by Wayne State Institute of Gerontology, and just a number of different sources. And so, and in addition to the lunch and learns, we offer a boot camp. And the boot camp is where David was invited in. And the boot camp is a full day experience of learning the model that has been designed And then what we do is we follow them 30 days out to see if knowledge has been transferred. So it's open to the public. Anyone can come. Our target audience is caregivers, but we find a lot of people come just to, even though their loved one may have passed, but to be in the room with other caregivers. It's significant that you're in a space that people understand what you're going through.
And David, was there something in that boot camp that was a spark for you in terms of your understanding of the disease and of caregiving?
Well, I think that the thing that really hit me is the whole remember your name deal, because it's an important deal, but it's, like Paula says, it's kind of sort of self-centered, you know your name. And that was a big connection in the film as far as with Kat, because we shot in October for a week, and then we went to the boot camp at the end of that week, and then we came back 6 weeks later. And during that 6 weeks, I left the people with GoPros so that they could just kind of almost keep like a video diary.
Right. That's where we get those confessionals.
Yeah. And that's when we found out, because I'm watching this GoPro at the hotel, and it's like Kat, I found out that Kat's mom didn't remember on Thanksgiving. It's like, oh my gosh, And so that was a big deal with Kat, obviously. And that was a big part in the film for me because, because then we went back to see Bessie with Kat, and it could have gone two ways. Either Bessie wouldn't have remembered who Kat was, which is, it could happen again, right? But she did remember, and I just felt that was great, because one of the goals of the whole thing, which is kind of a little bit was daunting for me at the beginning, was they wanted this to be about empowering caregivers, but they also wanted it to kind of end in a positive way. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you're talking about, basically a terminal illness. How's it going to end positively? But just have, at least for Kat, her mom recognized her, and that gave her the strength to go on again, even though she realizes that it may not happen again. It probably won't happen again. But, so that gave the positive thing. Plus Paula's whole thing about, when I met Paula and saw that, then I thought, oh, there is a positive point to this, that, even though it's tough, you are going to be there at the last chapter of this person's life. And that's an honor. It's really a hard thing for sure, but it's something that you're going to remember, and you're lucky. It's weird. I used to have disagreements with the DP about this, because he would say, what do you mean it's the best art part, and Ryan, who's a great guy. And, but I think it's a hard thing to understand. And sure, it may not be, like when you're young or whatever, but I know, just like I told Paula, that, in the last few months, I've laughed more with my mom than I ever have, and it's just, and that's really, those are valuable times. We take her out and she gets ice cream and makes a mess all over herself. And, but it's the memories that I love. So does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wondered, Dr. Duren, is that a hump you have to get over with people learning to see these things that could be potentially viewed as tragic or upsetting, learning to take those with humor?
Well, you have to recognize that there's some things that are going to happen to my loved one. They're going to be different. And different does not necessarily mean deficit. There are a lot of things they can't do, but if we frame it and start focusing on what they still can do, and not always what they're losing, but look at what you're gaining. I know in the film, they talked about the repetitive questioning and getting angry and them not knowing my name. But first of all, as you start to understand that, at least on an intellectual level, you start to expect some of that. And you don't react to it the same way. But if you look at it, how much you're needed and how much you can give by helping them to remember. And you can do that in all kinds of ways. You can do it through scrapbooking. You can do it through music. You can do it through help them remember the things that I say, help me to remember the love they may have forgotten. Just think how powerful that is for a caregiver to come to believe that they add that much value to someone's life. And in addition to that, and helping them remember through touch, through smell, through, they have spa days together where they do little things at home. Those things are essential as we start talking about what we can give to the person and help them. And you don't realize the value of helping someone else, what that does for you. It's such a gift. I know at times you feel there's a selfishness to this, but I understand it. But there's a selfishness that I want them to remember my name. They knew your name for 65, 90 years or whatever, and you know your name. So what does it matter that they don't remember your name? So
Yeah, they gave you your name.
I mean, come on. Oh, yeah, they gave me my name.
Yeah.
So in the process, if we start recognizing that it's their loss as well, but you get to walk them through this. They come to rely on you. You come to reinforce and make them feel secure. And I'm thinking about our flower strategy and the key elements in it. You help them feel secure. You help them connect to as much of the world as they can. And you stop trying to pull them back into your world. You give them permission to be where they are, and it's okay. And when you become at peace with stuff, when you don't call me my name, because they may call you out of your name. So you can respond to that one way or another too. And know that whatever strategy that you're using today may not work tomorrow and what from them, but you learn together. And it's your job to be there if you agree. And because too many caregivers don't accept that they're caregivers, which means they're going to struggle a long time. But when you really accept that I'm going to do this, I'm going to walk through this one day at a time. I'm going to give as much gift as I can. I'm going to take care of myself. As was indicated, you have to take care of yourself. It is so easy to get in, to lose yourself there because you want to be perfect with them. There's no such thing as perfect. You just work it one day at a time.
Can you explain a bit more about the flowers strategy?
Well, we have, along with the caregivers program that we've designed that's called Caregiver's Journey Through Dementia. There's a tool called Flowers, and it's the 7 care strategies that we teach to the caregivers. And they're designed to be person-centered. They're designed to offer up to the loved one some things that will help them. But the truth of the matter is they're really helping the caregiver. So one of the concepts is comfort me with touch, which is fascinating. So we teach the caregivers some basic massage techniques. So we have them learn to massage their hand. So what happens is that they go home and they do use that skill and that gift, but they don't realize in order to be able to massage someone else's hand, I have to be calm enough to offer that as a technique that makes them feel calm. So everything we do helps the caregiver first, which empowers them, and there's nothing better than doing something and seeing it work. As a caregiver, you feel so much more empowered. So comfort me with touch is one of our strategies. Help me feel safe. And that's the job of a caregiver, because as I lose my mental capacity, I might become more fearful. I might start engaging with the television. I might start seeing things coming after me. But what if I have that caregiver there to reassure me? And that even if I have a person that we would call an imaginary friend, but the caregiver can go in and say, well, who's that there with you today? That's Miss Jones. Well, Miss Jones can stay today because she's making you happy. But if Miss Jones is not making you happy, we're going to boot her out the room. Look at the power that I just gave myself as a caregiver, as I love on this person called mom or dad or friend or family. So there's 7 strategies that we use to support and teach caregivers.
That's wonderful. David, we touched on the extraordinary vulnerability of these subjects. I wonder, how did you come to select them in particular, and what was the process of establishing that intimacy with them?
Well, and Sally, my producer, Sally Schaefer, did a ton of research, and because the people are the most important part. They're the ones that are going to make the connection. And she found them, and Marla came through Paula. But it was just a tremendous amount of research from Sally's end. And so we met a bunch of different people, and no people are better than any other people, but the people that we did select, I met them and we interviewed them. Not on camera, but on tape. And it was, it was kind of casting, really, right? I mean, I had to earn their trust, I think, because I had to let them know that that I was listening to their story, because I was listening to their story, and that I really appreciated what they had to say. And then, they had to give it up. I mean, Kat's, shaving her mom's face and stuff. I mean, that was amazing, But Kat is an amazing person. Roger's an amazing person. Marla, they're all just great. The weirdest thing that I think is just kind of fascinating from a filmmaking kind of standpoint is, I mean, I love the editing part. It's probably my favorite thing. You don't have to get up as early, and but it's a lot of work. And I work with an editor that I've known since film school, Lou, and he's like one of the smartest guys I know. And but you spend time, like I spent like 2.5, 3 weeks total with off and on with Roger and Kat and Marla, over a 3-month period. But then Lou and I spent 2.5 weeks watching these people, 8.5, 10 hours a day, backwards and forwards. And so you really get to know these people. And I guess I'm getting kind of off track, but anyway, I'm just trying to say that it's a real love kind of deal. When we saw Roger when we came back to Detroit in January to do some post work, and we met him for lunch, and I'm just standing there all grinning, I'm just like, and he's like, "What's the matter with you? What are you?" It's just like, well, Roger had only spent a little bit of time with me in comparison, and I've been watching him over and over again and just fallen in love with the guy because he's like one of the best people. He's just such a incredibly generous person. And once you get to know Roger, I mean, it's not just about his mom. He's generous to everybody.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Paula's known him for quite a while, and he's an incredible person. So
can I add a little bit to that also? When I was contacted by the Detroit Area of Aging, and they're one of our partners that also helps us financially, is that my first response was, who are these people? Can I give them access to the people that who have been given to me, if that makes sense? So it was really important to me that I trusted them first, because too many people often, I'll say this out loud, I didn't want anyone to exploit them. I didn't want anyone who was dropping into our community and then do what they had to do and then run away and add no value whatsoever, because that happens too often. And when it comes to research in communities of color, they're not spending enough time there. They're not giving enough. They're not extending enough. So it's important to me that when we engage, I need to like these people. So I was kind of standoffish at first, and I'm sure Sally would probably say that. But past that, I saw that they were genuine folks. They wanted to create something, and they would always ask, kind of, are we honoring the person? Because that's what's key. We have to honor the people and respect that they were willing to open up their hearts, their space, their families to strangers so that other people could learn from our experiences. So I think that the people are essential. All of them went through one of our boot camps at one time or another, and Roger had gone through a year or so ago. Yet he keeps in touch and he keeps coming and is still trying to learn as much as he can learn in the process.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. I think the genuine trust and affection for these subjects definitely comes through. Can I ask also, with regard to the specific challenges for communities of color with this problem, could you expound a bit on that, Dr. Duren?
When it comes to dementia, well, first of all, there are care disparities, health disparities in communities of color, regardless of the topic. But when you come to dementia in communities of color, it's 2 to 3 times more prevalent. So we're dealing with that. And then in addition, we've got all these health disparities with diabetes, as well as asthma and all these other things that complicate it. And then the stress that's in the community causing additional illnesses on our loved ones. And so it's important that we recognize, and let me tell you that there are some people of color who might view this as not a brain disease, but a mental illness. And so if you understand the communities, which is so important, it's not a mental illness, it's a brain disease. And this is aside, one of the things I worry about moving forward is that there are real issues in my mind that I've heard from people of color about COVID-19. And if indeed people are testing on us. So it's just a whole lot of stuff. So you have to be sensitive to the community and what you serve, understanding disparities, understanding the people, and being able to relate directly to them.
And I think probably we have time for one more, and I think that's a good place to segue to is COVID-19. How is that affecting the situation for the caregivers you're in touch with, and what resources are they able to access that's helping them?
The beautiful thing about this moment is that everybody's trying to help. Regardless, everybody is trying to help. They see the importance of it. Caregivers on average are fairly isolated anyway. because they're in their home with the person they're serving. And we try hard to get into their space and get them out of there, and such that we can connect to them. So we've done a lot of things. We're going technical. I am not technical. We do Facebook Live. We do an exercise program on Facebook Live. We're also doing weekly chats with people who understand the disease, but also understand caregiving. We make those live. We're doing one-on-one telephone calls to all of the people on our list to check to see if they have issues. And like the Detroit Area Aging and other communities, you can go to them and I can say, look, I've got these issues. Can you help me get support? One of the caregivers needed groceries. Another one needed medication. And so I can't do that myself, but there's this huge network of people out there that are willing to help and support the needs of caregivers. So it's exaggerating the moment and isolating some even more. And we're just trying to pull them out, not out of their space, but out of probably their comfort zones, so that we can get them to connect with us, to call us, to write us, to come on Facebook or wherever and let us know what they need, because we really want to make sure they're okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Duren, and thank you, David. Really appreciate you both joining us and sharing this beautiful film with us. And hope you stay safe and healthy.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good to see you, David.
Good to see you, Paula. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. I'd like everyone to stay put because we have another film coming up. Director John Bader's film, Palliative, a very different look at caregiving from a different perspective about end-of-life care, profiling physician Dr. Nadia Tremonti. It's another extraordinary look at caregiving in Detroit, and I urge you to stay put. Freep Film Festival would also like to thank Lafayette American and the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation's Tight Knit program, both of which were instrumental in bringing this film to Freep. Thank you all for tuning in. And again, please stay put for Palliative, which will be about 37 minutes, followed by a Q&A organized by the WSU student group led by Judith Helfand. Thank you so much and enjoy the next film.